Welcome to Eden Equips, the podcast that shares real stories, practical tools to help parents, carers, educators feel equipped for the journey of raising and supporting neurodivergent children and young people. So whether you're tuning in with your cup of coffee, you're in the car, or you have that precious quiet moment, I am so glad that you're here. I'm Rebecca, and today we're joined by Tory. Tory is an incredibly kind individual, and the kind of individual that you meet and you're immediately drawn to. So I know you will feel that today in this podcast. Her kindness, knowledge, and deep caring really just draws you in. Tory is the founder of Map and Compass Neurodevelopmental Therapy. Tory is a qualified neurodevelopmental therapist, a specialist educator with a host of qualifications to her name, and also a mother who has journeyed a lot of what you guys listening today will currently be journeying or have journeyed. So she really understands and speaks your language. We're delighted to have you with us here today, Tory. So everyone, buckle up. This is going to be a good one. We're so delighted to have you here, Tory.
Oh,
You're so
Rebecca,
welcome.
thank you so much. I feel so honored to be here.
Thank
You so much for having me.
No, honestly, it's incredible, and I'm so excited to talk about some of this stuff. I read out there in the list of incredible things and like characteristics you are, but one of your qualifications and your main one we're talking about is neurodevelopmental therapist.
Yes.
I think a really good place to start is what is that?
What is?
Yeah.
Okay, so neurodevelopmental therapy. This is the thing that I wish I had known about for many, many years. But when I learned about what it was and what it did, it was life-changing for me. It was life-changing in the way that I began to not only think about my future and what I wanted to do, but it was life-changing for me in the way I looked at my past and the way that I saw not only my own development, but my development of my children and how all of that began to fit together for me. So neurodevelopmental therapy looks at development.
Okay.
It is the looking at how the brain and body develop, and with that development, what does it mean for movement, learning, behavior, our sensory system. It's how does development affect all of these things? And so as a neurodevelopmental therapist, we're looking to, we're a little bit like investigators. We look and we find out through a physical assessment, actually. This is a really great part about it. It's not a guessing game. It's a physical assessment. It shows up in the body when we can see, have all the pieces of development done what they're designed to do.
Yeah.
So we're looking really at, here's original design and how we are meant to be developed. And then is there a piece of that? Are there any of the pieces of our neurological foundation that have not been formed in the way that makes our brain and body work optimally together?
Okay, amazing. Does
that help?
Yeah, 100%. I think it gives us a really good foundation to like delve in a little bit deeper and a bit further. When you say physical, like looking at physically, what does that look like then?
So actually, so the method that I am trained in is INPP. So I did my postgraduate training in INPP, and that method does a very particular kind of diagnostic assessment. It takes a morning to go through everything. We look at gross motor skills and balance. We look at cerebellar involvement and a huge word called dysdiadochokinesia.
Oh my gosh!
And we look at reflexes.
Okay.
Primitive and postural reflexes and what they've done in the body. And then we look at our ocular motor stability and our postural security, and we look at all sorts of things. Because I also work in auditory integration, I take an audiogram and we can actually see not just, because I'm not an audiologist, I'm not looking at hearing, I'm looking at what does the brain do with sound.
Wow, okay.
So we're looking at
like how it responds.
How it responds.
Okay.
And the fascinating, well, I'm going to say fascinating probably too much in this podcast.
But it is also fascinating.
But the fascinating thing about the way that all of our sensory systems work is that they all connect with one another.
Right.
So, and they all connect with just our body in the most amazing way. Yeah. So, for instance, by working with the auditory pathway, it can actually do things like affect attention, coordination, balance, all sorts of things that you think, could that possibly have anything to do with my ear or hearing? But it's the way that sensory systems work together.
It's all connected. And this is something that's never spoken about. Like I would say, never is a huge word. Often isn't spoken about in terms of like, I'm supporting my young person and I just am like assessment route, potentially that's my main focus. Or, you know, there's one thing, here's the one pathway, here's what I want done. And I think even for my journey, I've always been so like neuroscience based. And the more you learn about all of that and about the body connecting to the brain, you're like, oh my gosh, this is all, it's all connected.
I love that you just did that. That's probably what I looked like.
Okay. Yeah.
What, you know,
that shock moment
that shock of this is what happened.
Yeah.
You know, this is what happens.
And how it's impacted.
Yes.
Yeah.
And do you mind if I take just a minute to explain how it happens?
Please. Okay. Yeah, please.
So any of my sort of neuroscience or neurodevelopmental nerds out there will probably think I'm going to do this way too simplistic, but I will, for the sake of brevity, we'll go really simple. But the idea is that when we're in our mother's womb, right? When we're just being formed, the first thing in our brain that forms is our brainstem.
Yep.
And it holds all of our automatic functions, like way before our whole cortical thinking brain is mature. And the reason it has to do that is because, you know, baby has to do a lot of things automatically without thinking about it because that's not even formed yet.
Yeah, it's not even there.
So it's things like, in the early days, it's things like getting into the right position in the womb. Right. It's how to corkscrew out the birth canal. It's once we're out, it's doing the automatic things like learning how to feed. You know, how do I push up? How do I roll over? How do I do all the motor milestones? The crawling, the things that we sort of know about. Yeah. But the part that I missed when I was raising my children. Right. I knew movement was important.
Yeah.
But I thought it had to do with movement. I didn't understand how much it wired the brain. I somehow had separated
the two things.
These things. Yeah. And I think that's pretty much what we think.
Absolutely. And I also don't think there's just enough information. Like I became so obsessed with like all the neuroscience stuff and then ended up studying so much of it. And then all of a sudden I was like, I felt like I was seeing people's brains. I was like, everything makes sense. Like when I was teaching, I became a better teacher. I became more empathetic. I became more understanding. And I also became so like aware of like, what are we doing and how are we supporting this a brain to connect in with their body and like with what they're experiencing
exactly
and everything and it's missed I think a lot. And I love that your practice is called Map and Compass.
Yes.
I'd love to know, like based on everything we even just talked about, like what led to that name, because that's quite a unique, beautiful name.
It is a beautiful name. If I can I'll just go back.
Yeah.
I'll go backwards to what I was saying because it'll help explain.
Yeah, please.
But in that automatic brain and the cortical brain, as we were talking about, the cortical brain gets in a muddle when the automatic brain doesn't do what it's designed to do.
Okay. Really beautiful way to put it. And a bit of a muddle. I love that.
It gets in a muddle because when the automatic brain is not doing what it's designed to do, the cortical thinking brain has to effectively help the automatic brain.
Yeah.
So then you've got both pieces of the brain not doing what it's designed to do, and you have a brain that overworks.
Wow.
So you've got this exhaustion going on in a brain not doing what it's designed to do, trying to help another piece of the brain that didn't get to do it. The law of reflexes is that they come in at a certain time of development. They have to do everything that they're designed to do, and then they integrate. Well, at any point along the way, these things could be interrupted. So I'm going to pause there to say Map and Compass.
Yeah.
So the reason why I called myself Map and Compass is because, you know, I didn't have a map. I didn't have, when I was raising my children, I didn't have someone to go, hey, here's a way to go. Here's a way. You might want to look at the earliest developmental foundations first, you know. And the other side of that is that parents come to me, and this is the piece of integrity in this work. I don't know a neurodevelopmental therapist that doesn't want to look at a child through that neurodevelopmental lens where we look at everything. So that means if it's not us, if we're not the person, we'll send them somewhere else.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it's not me focused. It's not me as a private practitioner focused.
yeah.
It's, you know what, you might need to go to your GP. We might need to run some labs.
Okay, yeah.
You know, there might be something underlying the developmental foundation that will affect other things. There might be other, do you see where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
It's not just reflexes or auditory integration. It's you're looking at the whole of development and are things working the way that they need to work?
And I think within that, like, oh my gosh, my brain is working so overtime here of like so many ways we could go in these conversations. But, you know, if I'm a parent or carer, say, listening to this, I'm thinking, right, well, who's contacting you? Like, who are the kind of young people you're working with? What are some of those kind of profiles that you're supporting a lot?
Yeah. Well, because of the nature of the way that development works, there's obviously going to be ceilings of things that we can help and things that we can't. And I think that's really important in this conversation.
Yeah, no, it is really important.
I think it's really important in this conversation because we're looking at things like genetics, and we're looking at things like things that are hardwired.
Yep.
So if I were to give an example of, the short answer is the full gamut of young people. I'm working with people who come to me and just maybe they have some anxiety and they're wondering, is that rooted in, are there any physical underlying reasons why I'm experiencing this anxiety? You know, and so we can actually see in a physical assessment if that is in place or not, if the brain is overworking and that's what's causing it. Is that's what's causing your sleeplessness? Is it the overthinking that your brain is doing? Do you see? So that on that sort of, is it okay to say mild end of that? That's what that would be. Although anxiety can be extreme for people, we can have anxiety that is completely debilitating for them,
and it's massive for a lot of our young people, isn't it, as well?
And a lot of that could have to do with the retention of things like those earliest withdrawal or motor reflexes that can cause hypersensitivity in any of the five senses. Yeah. You get this total fight flight, and they can stay in it until they're adults. I mean, for the rest of their lives, if that is not worked on to be reversed.
Yeah, and I think that's what's key, isn't it? I love the way that you said, naturally we understand there are ceilings of certain things, and that's really important, I think, always to say. And we look at hardware, look at genetics, yes, all of that. However, one of my favourite things about the brain and the way it's designed is that neuroplasticity aspect
I'm
of
so glad you
like
said that.
it can change and it can talk to us about, because that's basically what you're doing is you're looking at brains and you're going, hey, let's help you, let's look at these two parts, how can we help them work together rather than overworking against each other. So
that's it. I mean, I think a really good way to look at it is if you look at it in terms of like if you have a stroke, right?
Okay.
If you have a stroke, we know now that there is such a thing as stroke recovery.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the only way that stroke recovery can work is if the brain can adapt and change.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The only way that can happen is by little tiny sequential, consistent things that happen on a daily basis that mean that you can shift and change the brain. That is very much like the work of neurodevelopmental therapy.
Yeah, okay.
We're looking at consistency, duration, repetition.
Yeah.
It is not a lot of work. It's a little bit of work every day.
Ooh, I love that.
Do you see what I'm saying? So it's a
that's
little
so
bit.
good, Tory.
So let's take a child and a parent who brings a child. That child is going to have a home program that they do. They're going to go home. They're going to work with their parent for 5 to 10 minutes a day, a max 10 minutes. It's very.
Yeah. You're not asking me to sit down for 45 minutes.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
It's going to be something gentle. It's going to be something easy.
Nice.
It's not. This is not painful work. Yeah. It's not. Do you see what I'm saying? It's gentle. It's easy.
Natural.
It's going back. It's help. The amazing thing is the brain lets us help it to go back in time developmentally to do the things that it was supposed to do.
I love that.
But in certain circumstances, not in every circumstance.
Right.
In some circumstances, it will let us.
Yeah.
And an example would be a ceiling. I can't change a chromosome of Down syndrome.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Do you see what I'm saying? That's a ceiling.
And I think it's an important thing to have a conversation about, because there's such a thin line, isn't there, sometimes of the conversation of, and like, that's not, I know absolutely your heart, Tory, neuroaffirming practice,
100%.
supporting, loving. It's not that you're coming in saying, hey, this needs to be fixed.
No.
There's something wrong. And I think that's really key for anybody listening who, and I think sometimes our backs go, or like we go slightly oof whenever we hear something different.
Yes.
And I think there's even when we first met, like, I love all of this neurodevelopment stuff. I really understand it. And I had that minute of being like you and I actually met at a wedding, and we were actually having that conversation. And it takes you a few minutes. You're like, are we both on the same page here? Is this the same thing? And I'm like, okay, great, we are. You know, but I think that conversation has to be had.
Important because it's not about wanting to change a child.
Right.
It's
really well
if you
put,
can
Tory.
look at it in terms of what can be done to help a child in the midst of suffering. If I give an example of a Down syndrome child, that would be a really good example. I got a text from a Down syndrome family that I'm working with, and the dad texted last week to say that, Tory, you're just not going to believe this, but he let me cut his hair.
Wow.
And they had a party. They had a little celebration together over it, because it wasn't a little deal. He was having major meltdowns, and it was a huge phobia. I mean, it was terrible for him.
Right.
The work that we did was with his moro reflex to help bring down that hypersensitivity. And this child is now, and actually it's the same child who a couple of months before had run into my office saying, Tory, I don't have to wear ear defenders at football practice anymore. You know, and it's just so excited. Yeah. This is to know that this exists to be able to help a child. Why wouldn't you?
Right. And it's I think that's the focus, isn't it? You're not coming in, nor is neurodevelopmental therapy of being like, we're going to fix or something. None of that language.
No way.
It's really neuroaffirming, to the point of like, one of our kind of tick lists when we go down neuroaffirming practices is this going to improve their quality of life? If I can come in and be like, my young person is so anxious, and they are, and we know autism and anxiety, massive overlap, huge.
Massive.
And understandably, because their body is holding lots of often like trauma responses, like from maybe a first experience I had with a teacher. So now, no matter who the teacher is, my body's responding. Because my primitive reaction is just happening.
Exactly.
And that stuff we can support young people with. And I think for me, even having these conversations, I'm like, that's so hopeful.
It's filled with hope.
Right. So I think as a parent, and you know a lot of this, like Tory, from personal journeys as well, is that a lot of this journey can feel very hopeless.
Yes.
So I go in and I get an identification from my young person. And I'm like, great, that makes a lot of sense. I understand that their brain is wired and fired slightly differently, and they're processing the world a wee bit different. And then the conversation stops. And that's nearly like, it feels like a full stop in my journey. Whereas actually I want it to be, I know you want it to be, now let's open the book. Let's now understand this young person from this lens.
Yes.
But it's not a full stop, end of story.
It's not. And I think part of, I'm so grateful for you saying that, because I think part of the work that I love the most is when we're in a physical assessment and the parent sees, look, I had no idea they couldn't do such and such, and we're working on it, or we're doing something. And all of a sudden, it's like the light bulb goes on, and it gives the parent a different lens to see their child. Yeah. Instead of getting, frankly, really like some of the parents are dealing with a lot of anger issues and they're getting over frustrated and whatever. Yeah. It helps you to see there's a reason. Yeah. There's a reason here. Why they can't think before they react.
Right. And I think a good way even to put that is what you're doing is, the way we talk a lot about it, parents, carers, educators out there will hear, there's a reason behind behavior. Behavior is a communication. That's key, right? But you're going, hey, let me take you one step further.
One step further.
Let me go a wee bit deeper than, we're kind of coming in doing like the quick sweep, here's what might be happening. But you're going, let me look at their brain and body. Yeah. And actually what's happening.
Yeah. Let me take it even one step further. We're not just talking about behavior. We're talking about the girl who came in just 2 days ago into my office, precious girl in primary school. And she came in, with a bright little face, and she was, her mother said, Tory, before you even check her, she's doing things like she's reading things in the room and going down the hall and, saying words that she's seeing. And she was never doing that before. She struggled with her reading and her academics. And when we initially assessed her, there was when we did her eye tracking, she couldn't track at all.
Okay.
And it was like her eyes were darting and jumping and all of this.
Yeah.
And that was just 4 months ago. And when I checked her eye tracking 2 days ago, her mother and I just, we actually were open mouthed, like, I cannot believe how stable it was.
Wow.
It was just as stable as can be. And it makes sense why, of course. Now she's reading for fun. It was exhausting. It was, and now she's reading
anxiety
for fun.
inducing.
What we had worked on was stabilizing her vestibular system, bringing in that postural security, working on her reflexes, and that creates that visual stability in her oculomotor system.
So fascinating, isn't it?
It is fascinating.
Like, it
there,
really,
you said it again.
I said the word. I said it. But it is, and I think, like, I'm trying to think, practically then, what is this? If I'm listening to this as an educator or as a parent in care, practically what can I do to support my young person? Like, what do I do with all of this? And I'm listening to this and now I'm like, oh my goodness, this one is starting to make sense. There's, we can learn so much. And, phrases and, books are being more popularized around these topics. Yes. And we hear all of those stuff like your body holds scores and all of that. So what do I do? Like, what do I do with that information?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you want to look at it in terms of like my hope for the future of what I would love to see happen.
Tell me about it.
I mean, I think that we have to start at, this is going to sound really grandiose, but I started this career late in my life and I'm not going to be able to do it as I can only see, let's say I see several thousand children and families. That's a drop in the bucket.
Yeah.
To what? Do you see what I'm saying?
I know.
We need it to be something that is across the land, right?
Yeah.
And so in order to do that, it starts with education.
Okay.
I think we have to start in high schools. I think we have to start explaining development to young people. How do you have a healthy pregnancy? How do you have a healthy birth? What does it look like with a baby? We're not taught these things.
No, we're not.
I actually treat a few GPs' children, and one of them said the most wonderful thing to me. She said, because I was apologizing for explaining about development to her. I was like, I'm sorry if I'm telling you.
Yeah.
And she said, Tory, we're really taught mainly about disease, not a lot about development.
Wow. And
I just went, oof. Mic drop.
Yeah.
Because I thought that's a perfect example of the gap.
That's where we need to switch it.
That's the gap.
Yeah.
So it being taught in teacher training institutions. It being taught with midwives and health visitors who go around and teach and explain. And so when we are actually, it becomes pervasive in a society. And then we do school programs in school. We do developmental movement programs in school. We screen children when they come in.
Yeah.
And we check them physically. Where are you? How's things? Is there anything that we can do to help you be in a more optimally developmental place? And then we do developmental movement programs with whole classes so no children are left out. So we don't miss.
And again, that's like, I feel like I nearly say this phrase every podcast. Useful for all children, vital for some.
For all children.
Like it's going to be vital to pick up some stuff for some young people.
Useful for all children.
But really useful for all. Like I know in my own personal journey, understanding my brain more has helped me as an individual, as a friend, as a wife, as a stepmom. Like all of that stuff is so beneficial for me understanding myself and my brain and how sometimes I just react because of stuff and things like that. Yeah. To then it's going to be useful for all of our young people.
It is.
If I'm like, I really see and hope this for our country and really want this to change. I guess, even looking at that as a parent, what can I do to support my young person's brain and body start communicating a bit better with each other?
Yeah.
Is there anything practical I could do?
Yeah. Do you know what is my favorite? Because, if I had to say what to do, I would say there's a screening questionnaire on my website.
Okay, cool.
There's a screening there's a screening questionnaire
really helpful.
On all INP practitioners basically have this screening questionnaire available that gives you a baseline of, hey, I might want to look into this further. Mm-hmm. Best case scenario, everyone sees a practitioner if they're concerned. Mm-hmm, okay. Mm-hmm. We know that not everyone is going to be able to do that.
Right, to access that, yeah.
So I would say, number one, learn about development. Books by Sally Goddard Blythe.
Okay.
Okay. Well Balanced Child.
Yeah.
If you have a nursery age child, there's a wonderful book called Movement: A Child's First Language. It's a music and rhythm and movement program.
Great.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you want to just make your brain have some good food, good brain food,
Okay.
you cannot go wrong with rhythm and movement and the synchronicity of rhythm and movement.
Come up so much, Troy. Honestly, nearly every podcast, we're like movement.
go wrong.
No matter what topic we're talking about, or we're talking about supporting young people with their eating, supporting with their language development.
Yes.
Movement's now becoming our key thing, isn't it?
Absolutely. Have a metronome app on your phone set for 60 BPM.
Okay.
That's your calm. That's your calm. Do your clapping games to it.
Yeah. Love that.
Do you see what I'm saying? Like, do your...
Tori, that's simple.
It's so simple.
You're not asking me to spend money here. And I think sometimes that is what I fear is if I'm a parent or carer educationer, I'm like, well, I'm going to have to look up funding. I'm going to have to apply for this. But actually, here's some really simplistic...
Crawl to the beat. Do things to the beat. Get the brain doing synchronicity together. The thing is, it feeds on that sort of predictable rhythms.
I love that.
Okay, so do those things.
And that's back to your little often, and it really...
And that's
really
one of
helps.
the things that I do is I do reflex integration, auditory integration, and bilateral integration with RGM, and that is rhythm and music, and that's such a fun thing to do.
So fun. Tori, like, honestly... We could go on and on here, couldn't we? And but I think it's such a topic that does need to be explored more, and we'll definitely be looking at that. I love, Tori, that on your website you say every child is a treasure beyond words, and you really do, I feel, embody that of like really open to every young person. Like when I was reading on your website, who we help, I was like, oh my goodness, like everybody, and I love that because sometimes as practices, we have to really limit who we do, but you're really saying, hey, come, and I really want to help because no matter where your child's at on their journey, no matter neurodivergent, no matter if there's other things going on that you're a little bit concerned about, or just you don't understand, you're saying, they're a treasure. We want them. 100%. And back to what you said, we want to support them to be the best possible versions of themselves.
Yeah. That's
not
it.
of, hey, let me create you like a robot, like every other child, but like, let's just let you thrive in this world.
That's
isn't
right.
it?
No one's asking for more than who you are.
Yeah.
We want to look at, we're actually giving children an opportunity to be who they really are.
Yeah. Brilliant. And we don't often. No, Tori, it's so great. We've done a lot of practical things here, but we're going to finish off with our quick equip. So even if they're repeated, that's totally fine. Rapid fire, kind of if I'm listening to finish, a tool or resource that you love.
Okay. So I think probably the best thing that I could say at this point is that there is a school program called the INPP school program. Okay. Recently, this is wild, the Department of Education for Northern Ireland funded 45 educators to be trained in 11 schools in Coleraine and Limavady.
Right, okay, cool.
So it's a hopeful
step.
News story in the INPP school program, which can be implemented in a school setting. And there is a training coming up in Derry in February. Okay. The UK trainer's coming over to do that. And so if there are educators out there that would like to be trained, if you're a parent and you'd like your teachers to know about this, tell them about it.
Okay, great. We'll link it in the podcast notes and everything. Yeah, brilliant. I love that. A mindset that helps you. We talked about the brain. Like, what mindset helps your brain?
Well, I was thinking this is personal, but for me, the mindset that helps me is that regret doesn't help anyone.
That's really powerful, Tory. Yeah.
Regret can rob. And what it robbed me from was I was so upset over what I didn't know that I didn't push forward into what I could know. Ooh. And so I wanted to go back in time and change the things that I didn't know, so to be able to do the things that now I understand and know and could have been able to offer for my children. Yeah. But the thing is that we cannot move. We can't go back, but we can go forward. Yeah. And I think that is the mindset. Yeah. We can't go back, but we can go forward.
Yeah. And when you know.
So many parents sit with me and say things to me that break my heart. They're like, but I didn't I didn't know, and I didn't know about, I didn't understand about tummy time, and I didn't know about putting my baby in containers, and I didn't know about all the screen time, and I didn't know about, and I didn't know about them not moving, and I didn't know, and I did things that I wish I hadn't done, and blah, 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 and it goes on, it goes on. And you just think, oh, you are in agony.
Yeah.
And how can I come in and say, here, there is hope, and we can go forward.
Yeah.
And we're made so wonderfully that the brain is going to allow us to do some things. And we hope it can. It's not in every circumstance.
No,
and we don't want to overpromise.
No, right.
But there are some circumstances in which we can.
I love that, Tory. Tory, thank you so much. There's so much there, and I'm like, right, okay, let's how can we program this more and really support more as well. And I just think incredible to be able to start to see, I think, and I feel really hopeful that we can start piecing bits together as well to be able to support. And I think what neurodevelopmental therapy does is create hope.
It does.
And I think families are missing that a little bit. Educators are. It all feels a bit hopeless sometimes.
Yes.
So I think that is just a beautiful message to be able to give. And I love that bit about regret, because don't we all sit there, if I knew. And I think even just freeing a lot of people from that right now, and being able to move forward in our brains is really, really important. Tory, thank you so much for coming on. I've loved it. I've learned so much. I know our viewers have learned so much as well. We'll put all of the information in our podcast notes and be able to definitely have future conversations. I think just really quickly to finish, if I want to contact you, Tory, how do I do it?
My website is mapandcomposstherapy.com.
Great.
And I'm on Instagram and Facebook.
Fab. And again, we'll tag you in everything. So we'll be easily found just if people are wanting to reach out and kind of start having these big life-changing conversations as well. Tory, thank you so much. I know listeners, you will have loved it, and there'll be lots of probably questions and thoughts, but thank you so much for tuning in. And I hope that today's episode, filled you with hope and even just made you feel a little bit less alone in this journey. Thank you so much. Thank you, Tory.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.